How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Stock Hours video. I'm Maki, and today we're going to be talking about the Sunday stock watch list, the stocks that I'm watching personally, and the stocks that we're probably going to be paying the most attention to throughout the week. We're also going to be paying attention to the earnings whispers and some of the news that we're going to be going through on the week. First of all, we need to pay attention to the big earnings. We have Tesla, Google, IBM as well. We're not going to be trading that one, but it's cool to watch. But these are the two big ones for this week. You'll see that Tesla has an expected move of about 10% here, 10 to 11%. So they're expecting a big move on Tesla from the earnings. Another one is Google with an expected move of about 7 to 67%. So those are going to be the big movers on the earnings. The rest we're not paying much attention to. Intel is expected to have a decent move of about 10%. So that should be cool to watch. Next up, we have the news. Paying attention to April the 22nd and 23rd. We have news at 10 a.m. Eastern, both existing in new home sales. So make sure you're not in any positions when that news comes out. Alright, when it comes to the charts itself, we will have SPY on the 4-hour chart. And what I'm paying attention to is we've set a range from these white lines. So we've set a sideways range. But what I want you guys to pay attention to is we have a channel support sitting here. So if we do end up breaking through that channel and heading lower, we might run into support somewhere at that 509 to 510 area. I would watch that heavily because a key level breakout is not going to be enough. We're probably going to need to hold below that channel in order to get all the way back down. When it comes to the upside, you'd want to watch that downtrend break. Sure, the entire market is going to be watching that downtrend break, but as it breaks, you'd also want to see it or see the reactions at that 549 to 550 range. So the S&P is basically stuck in a range, and you want to be careful as to when you break a level, there's probably one right after it, and same thing here, break that level, probably one right after. Next up, we have Meta. Meta has been weaker than the overall market, so I'm not watching any upside on this. Also, the upside is fairly far away. I mean, it's sitting all the way at that 580 and 590 range. But towards the downside, we're watching that 490 area. We gapped down below 490 on that big gap down on the 7th of July. No, sorry, the 7th of April. But then I do want to watch for how it reacted to that 490 because we barely executed orders at 490. That means 490 is going to be an important level here. And then next up would be that 471 to 470 area. 480 has a gap right below it. So it's going to be a tricky spot to play 480. I would want to be careful with that one because if we get a gap bounce, that 480 is probably going to be a bad risk reward setup. So mainly 490, that the support itself sitting at 495, but we're interested in that 490 mainly, and then that 471 into 470. Next up, we have MSDR. We had momentum towards the upside, slowed down. So typically you'll lose momentum and volume in a consolidation. That's expected here, but we're setting up right below that 320 as a breakout for a triple top. This has a gap zone sitting somewhere right here, so that's going to be the maximum target that I would have on a setup like this, in assumption that it would have to hold above that gap zone before it's capable of seeing 330. So on that setup at that 320 break, it probably does not have room to 330, probably only has room to that gap fill zone, which sits somewhere right here at 324ish to 326ish. and then no downside setups on this one. Next up, we have Tesla. Tesla's key levels are far. This is the 4-hour chart, but I do want to pay attention to the move after the earnings. So we're going to be waiting for the earnings to come out. We're expected to move about 10% on this. So either a $24 move up, somewhere around that range, or about $25 down. But those key levels are going to be 293, well, 290 and 293. We have 275, which will probably not going to be the main watch, right? Because this is set in a range. This is probably going to be skipped. And then mainly 210 and 200. Those are going to be the big ones if we drop, and the big one's going to be 293 if we actually move higher. Just pay attention to the fact that if things change, you'd want to follow Trade Like Noor on Instagram, because as things progress during the week, we update our setups on Instagram there. Last but not least, it's going to be our NVDA setup. The upside is far on this one, sitting at 124-ish into 125. So that's a long way to go. If we see continuous weakness on this thing, then we'll be watching that 85 level mainly, and 80. I do want to say 90 is going to be an important level because we barely executed orders at 90. We gapped down and then immediately rallied. So there's barely any execution sitting at that 90 level. It technically hasn't been tested yet. Therefore, we'll be watching that 90. If you pay attention to the volume profile, you'll see that that 90 area has a weak volume profile. Okay, that's all for this week. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below on what setups you had in mind, or what setups piqued your interest the most. I will see you guys on the next week. Have a good one.